let me tell you something. And I want you to really feel this, deep in the marrow of your soul. The narcissist walks like they've never bled, like they're untouchable, unshaken, unmoved, head-high smile painted, strutting through life as if they just walked off the stage of their own one-man show. Oh, they want the world to believe they didn't just survive, they conquered. That you were just another shadow passing by. Forgettable. Replaceable. A footnote in their grand story. But friend, don't you dare believe that lie. Because when someone finally walks away from the narcissist, not in a storm of shouting, but in that quiet, holy kind of silence that means this time it's real, something inside that carefully built fortress starts to crumble. It doesn't scream, it doesn't explode, it cracks, slowly, like a hairline fracture in a mirror. And it spreads. See, most people miss the real truth here. You weren't just a partner. You a friend, a lover. You were the mirror. You were the reflection that helped them pretend they were whole. Without that mirror, they're left staring at the darkness on their own walls. No applause, no spotlight, just silence. They never truly saw you. What they saw was their own reflection in your eyes. Your praise, your pain, your reactions. That's how they stitched together their identity. And when you take all that away, when you stop performing, stop reacting, stop giving them even your anger, they lose the script. Their whole play starts to fall apart. Suddenly, the same silence they once used to punish you turns into a prison of their own making. You're not sitting around anymore, checking your phone, waiting on their crumbs of attention. You're out there, breathing, healing, glowing, and that's when the unraveling begins. It's not dramatic, not loud, it's slow, internal, suffocating. Oh, they won't show it. Not in public, never. The mask stays on. They'll still post, still smile, still pretend, but that joy, it's paper, thin. It's performance. It's not for you, it's not for the world. It's for them. They need to believe it's real because deep down, and at that whisper, it grows. Then come the messages, not love letters, not apologies, tests. Hey, hope you're okay. Heard a song that reminded me of you. Sounds harmless, right? But it's not kinness. It's a sonar ping. Like a way to check if they still live in your head. If you answer, even with a single word, that's power, that's fuel. That's them putting their hand back on the puppet strings. But if you don't, if your silence stands like a mountain, oh beloved, that silence becomes a sermon. Because the narcissist doesn't just fear being alone, they fear being invisible. They can't stand the idea that someone out there isn't watching, isn't reacting, isn't giving them a stage. And when the lights go out, when the mirror refuses to reflect, they're left staring into their own soul and finding nothing. That's when they start to stretch the lies like worn fabric, telling anyone who listened that you were unstable, that you were too much, too cold, too dramatic. Why? Because if they admit the truth, if they say, "Thee left because of me," the whole tower comes down, and they know it. But truth, my friend, is stubborn. It leaks, it seeps, it finds its way through even the tiniest cracks. One day they wake up and the script no longer brings comfort. The old lines, the "I'll be back," they always come back, feel hollow. That's when fear becomes a fire. And the smoke, it rises. Now they're not acting anymore. They're choking on the ashes of their own performance. That's when rage creeps in. But it's not the kind that screams and throws things. No, this rage is calculated. It's dressed in clean words, tied with a ribbon of blame. You were always the problem. I've moved on to someone better. These words aren't closure. They're claws. Each one is meant to pull you back into the dance, to make you react, to make you feel, because feeling means control. But if you stand still, if you don't bite, if your peace is louder than their poison, that's when the narcissist truly breaks. Not in a way the world can see. No, the collapse happens deep. At the soul level. The place no camera reaches. The place no audience claps for. And all the pieces they use to hold themselves together, they start to scatter like ashes in a storm they can't stop. Let them rage. Let them spin stories. You walk in truth. Because what they fear most isn't your anger. It's your absence. It's your silence. It's your healing. Oh, listen closely now. Because this is where the real storm begins. See, when there's no reply, not even a whisper, not a twitch of the brow, not a flicker of attention, they feel it. That fury doesn't roar. No, it grows roots. It spreads slow and silent, like ivy under stone, a coiling tighter with every passing day. And in the silence a panic begins to whisper. You might not reach them this time. You might have lost them for good. That thought, it ain't just fear, it's terror, wrapped in pride. So what do they do next? Oh, they light fireworks. They emotional pyrotechnics for the world to see. New photos, new lovers, new smiles with someone who doesn't know yet. Hands held for the camera. A found peace. The caption says, but don't believe it for a second. That ain't peace, it's camouflage. That's not a partner. It's a prop. They're not celebrating a new beginning. They're trying to provoke your return. And here's the real heartbreak. They don't even see they're hurting the new person too. Because that person, they're not being loved. They're being used to prove a point. Now the narcissist is split in two. Half clawing at the memory of your presence, the other half trying to punish you for daring to leave. And suddenly, everything gets quiet. But it's the kind of quiet that crackles. Charvished? You'll feel it. A glance from across the room. A mutual friend bringing strange updates. You post something simple, something small. They're still watching. Always watching. But this isn't romance. It's reconnaissance. And when you keep walking, head high, spirit grounded, life in motion, that's when the panic turns sharp. Their old tricks don't bite anymore. The tools they once used to bend your soul don't even scratch the surface now. You're not who you used to be. And that scares them more than anything. So they begin rewriting the story, quietly, cowardly, whispering lies behind closed doors. To coworkers, to cousins, to people you've never even met. You become a villain in their play. A storm they say they survived. Why? Because if they can't control your presence, then they'll try to own your image, not to heal, not to understand, but to rewrite the ending. And when the lies no longer satisfy, when the rage no longer fuels them, when the panic turns to dust, what do they grab next? Replacement. Enter stage 3, ego reconstruction. Now don't be fooled, this ain't healing, this isn't transformation. This is desperation dressed up as romance. The narcissist can't bear to sit still. That kind of silence, it's like standing naked under the truth, so they sprint into the arms of someone new before your absence even has time to settle. And they call it love. But this isn't falling in love, it's falling into performance. Suddenly they're everywhere. Loud laughs, stage kisses, sunrise getaways. A breakfast in bed with someone who doesn't know they're just a character in a script. But if you listen close, you'll hear the desperation in the joy. You'll see the urgency in every post. They're not basking in happiness. They're patching a sinking boat with glitter and old quotes. Fast track the new story. We're soulmates, they say within weeks. Emotional milestones tumble like dominoes. Not because it's real, but because they need it to be. Because they're hollow. But here's what eats at them in the dark, it's not you. You were the one who saw behind the curtain. You looked them in the eyes and named the truth. You loved them without falling for the show, and when the mask cracked, you didn't beg, you walked. And they'll never forgive that. So they try harder. They post more, laugh louder, cling tighter. All to drown out the one thing they can't shake, the sound of your silence. Because this new person, they don't push back, they don't question, they don't know. And in that emptiness, the narcissist starts to remember and starts to compare. And comparison is a bitter ghost. They overlove, overpost, overcompensate. Not because they feel it, but because they're trying to erase your shadow. But your shadow, beloved, lingers in the places that mattered. And nothing they do seems to make it vanish. It's not the new person that makes them angry. It's what that person can't touch. That part of their soul you reached. That truth you saw. That thing they destroyed. And every morning they wake beside someone who can't stir their depths. Every picture they post hoping you'll see it. And you don't. That's when it dawns on them. Not just in body. You're untouchable now. And that's the deepest cut of all. Because deep beneath the noise, under all the showmanship, they finally confront a truth they've always feared. They lost the only mirror that ever reflected who they really were. And once you see truth, you can't unsee it. And then, my friend, everything goes still. But this is not peace. It's collapse. Not a collapse the world sees. No, this is the unraveling of a soul. This is stage 4, the silent collapse. No more strategies. No more pretending. Just an empty echo chamber where even their own voice won't answer back. This silence, it ain't their weapon anymore. It's their sentence. They're not using it to win. They're drowning in it. Because now there's nothing left to distract them. No game to play. No mask to wear. And when they stand there, finally stripped of it all, no audience, no applause, no reflection staring back, they come face to face with their oldest fear, themselves. No more crowds. No more curtain calls. Just the echo of their own undoing, ringing through a stage that's finally gone dark. The narcissist might still show up with that familiar smile, still say all the right lines. I'm good. I've moved on. Everything's fine. But if you could see past the performance, past the practiced ease in their voice, you'd see it. That light behind the eyes. It's dimming. That spark they fed off for so long. It's flickering like a candle left in a storm. Because everything that used to fuel their fire, your love, your attention, your energy, it's gone. And in its place, a quiet that speaks in truths they can't unhear. This isn't a grand collapse. No. This is a slow fade. A kind of weariness that seeps into the bones. The kind of tired that doesn't go away with rest. The kind of ache that sleep can't touch. It's not sadness they can cry out. It's not rage they can scream through. It's hollowness. And they've got no name for it. Because they never learned how to feel it honestly. So what do? They numb, they drown. Some lose themselves in work, chasing goals like it's some kind of redemption. Others vanish into noise. Bars, bodies, blinding lights, anything to drown out the silence now trailing them like a shadow they can't shake. But no matter where they go, no matter who they hold or how loud the music plays, it's still there. The emptiness. Whispering, following, growing louder with every step they take. And here's the bitter edge. They start to miss you. Not because they knew how to love you right. But because you grounded them. You gave them form. You were the mirror that helped them believe they were someone. With you they felt real. Even if just for a moment. But that mirror, it's gone now, so they stare into the world, looking for some reflection of who they are, and all they see is static. A stranger. And that, more than anything, breaks them. As some of them begin to disappear, not just from social media but from themselves. Others, they swing the other way. Looter. Bigger. More photos, more captions. More stories about finding peace. But it's all the same song, just a different verse. Whether they go quiet or go wild, the message is the same. They're coming apart at the seams. Some turn cold, cynical, bitter. Nobody's real. Love's a lie. Trust no one. But deep beneath that bitterness, there's a truth they've never had the courage to say out loud. They never learned how to be real. Never learned how to feel without acting, to connect without control. And when there's no one left to feed the illusion, no one left to hand them the script, they're lost. Adrift in a story that no longer makes sense. No lines. No spotlight, just silence. You might hear whispers that found God, or joined a new cause, or fallen in love again. But you know the pattern. You've seen this play. It's not rebirth. It's avoidance. A loop dressed up as change. And here's the part you need to hear. Maybe more than anything, you are not their savior. You're not their lifeline. You're not their rehab. That was never your cross to carry. You tried, you gave, you showed up. And every time you did, they turned away. Not because you lacked anything, but because they weren't ready to face themselves. So now, let them sit in that stillness they once used to control you. Let them feel what you felt. Only now, it's not punishment. It's reflection. A divine mirror held up by your absence. One they can't smash. One they can't escape. You don't need revenge. You don't even need closure. You just need to live. Because your silence, that was your sermon. That was your stand. That was your freedom song rising in the dark. You choose truth when they chose illusion. You chose healing when they chose control. You chose to walk away when staying meant losing your soul. And now, they sit in the ashes of their own empire, realizing that the one soul who truly saw them, the one heart that didn't play pretend, is gone. Not with hate, rage, but with strength. Then that kind of exit, that kind of farewell, that isn't just a goodbye, that's a holy reckoning. Which brings us to the edge of the cliff. Stage 5, a reconstruction or collapse. This is where it all stops. Where the music dies and the mask hits the floor. Where the narcissist, for the first time, stands still in their own emptiness, alone, no applause, no distraction, just them, and the silence. And right there, in that space where every lie crumbles, and every echo fades, they're met with a choice. They don't even know they're choosing it, but the crossroad stands before them all the same. One road leads down the same old path. More pretending, more games, more borrowed faces to wear. But the other, that's the road less traveled. That's awakening. Yes, it happens. Not often, not easily. But sometimes, the pain pierces deep enough to crack the shell. Sometimes, after losing everything, something real begins to stir. And for the first time, the narcissist whispers a truth so fragile it trembles in the air. I don't know who I am. That's it. That's the sacred breaking point. The soul, finally willing to look inward. And if they're strong enough, humble enough, they start to seek truth. Not validation, not admiration. Truth. They sit with someone who doesn't fall for the act. They begin to feel the feelings they spent decades burying. They own what they once blamed. They begin the long, brutal work of becoming human again, not polished, not perfect, just a real. Yes, yes, that's it. Now we reach the threshold, the place where the soul stands trembling between two eternities. But listen, that path of awakening, it demands something fierce. It demands a funeral, not of someone else, but of the false self. That mask, that character they've played for years, the charming role, the perfect image, the story that made them feel powerful. To walk the path of truth, they'd have to lay all of that to rest. And most, they're not ready to bury it, so they turn, they retreat, they choose the familiar shadows. And this, my friend, is where the collapse becomes permanent, not loud, not theatrical, just a slow sinking, a soul losing itself one mask at a time. They repeat the pattern, a new partner, a new persona, a new beginning on the outside. But inside, and it's the same old echo, and it's thinner now, weaker. Even they don't buy the script anymore. The lies they used to believe feel stale on their tongue. The games, they don't even excite them. They're still moving, yes, but it's motion without meaning, breath without spirit, life without living. They become quieter in the worst way. Not peaceful, not healed, hardened. The drama turns into calculation. The rage becomes coldness. They stop yelling. They start draining, like ice. Because when a heart stays shut for too long, it doesn't just break, it calcifies. And for those of us who once stood beside the narcissist, who once believed we could reach them, change them, redeem them, this is what we must accept with sacred, soul-protecting clarity. You can't save them. That was never your assignment. You gave them grace. Again and again you reached, you bent. You broke your own heart hoping they'd find theirs. But healing, that's never something you can do for someone. That's holy work, and it starts from the inside. You can lead someone to truth, but you can't make them drink from it. And if they choose to stay asleep, if they choose illusion over awakening, even when the light was right there, that's not your burden to carry. That's theirs. Maybe, just maybe, someday they'll sit in the silence of their own soul and remember you. Not with bitterness, not with fire, but with the H of stillness, with the weight of knowing, they were the only one who truly saw me, and I let them go. And that, dear heart, is your legacy. Not chaos, not destruction, but truth. You weren't too much. You weren't too sensitive. You weren't too emotional, You were aware. Alive. Awake to a reality they weren't ready to face. And yes, it scared them. But you didn't shrink to make them feel bigger. You didn't quiet your soul to keep their ego warm. You didn't call pain love just to hold on. No. You with vengeance. Not with fire, but with quiet, steady truth. You walked away, not because you hated them, but because staying would have cost you yourself. And that isn't weakness. That's sacred strength. And maybe there were nights you asked the sky, did it mean anything? Did they ever feel it? Do they regret? But now you know, you don't need the answer, because the silence they sit in now, it's the answer. It's in the hollowness of their days. It's in the mask that no longer fits. It's in the way the world moves forward without them, while you keep stepping into a life that finally feels like yours. You're not trapped in the past. You're not waiting for closure. You're not frozen in longing. You're walking, step by step, day by day. Not perfectly, but powerfully, tender and fierce, bruised and brilliant, still healing, still rising. And if you're still reading this, if your heart is beating and your breath is steady, even through the tears, then let me speak this directly to your soul. You are rising. Don't dim that holy fire just to sit in someone else's shadow. Don't squeeze your spirit into the shape of someone else's approval. Then whatever you do, don't you dare look back, because that path behind you, that was never home. It was a classroom. It was a refiner's fire. And the light ahead, unfiltered, unchained, unshackable, unafraid, they may have collapsed, but you have resin. And this time, you're never going back.